The universe has a way of settling scores. Every action has a consequence, and those who throw thorns in your path will one day walk barefoot over their own destruction. That's the truth they refuse to see. The ones who schemed against you, the ones who whispered your name like a curse, the ones who thought they could dim your light. They are about to learn a hard lesson. They never ran across a person like you before. You weren't just another name on their hit list. You were their reckoning. Jealousy is a slow poison, but the fools who targeted you didn't just sip it, they drowned in it. They were so obsessed with watching you fall that they never noticed the cracks forming beneath their own feet. They thought they had you surrounded, that their numbers made them strong, but numbers mean nothing when the foundation is weak. While they gathered in secret, plotting your downfall, they were only setting themselves up for failure. The power of being chosen isn't something that can be stolen, copied, or destroyed. It's the force that turns every attack against you into fuel for your rise. Your existence alone disturbs them. Why? Because you prove that strength doesn't come from cheap tricks, fake alliances, or desperate attempts to tear others down. It comes from resilience, from walking through every fire they set for you and coming out untouched. And that, chosen one, is why they will always lose. They wanted to watch you break. Instead, they'll have to watch you thrive. So let them plot, let them whisper, let them burn themselves out trying to bring you down. In the end, they will fade into nothing while you keep rising. If you're ready to keep pushing forward, to step fully into your power, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Number 1. Never let them think they've figured you out. Your depth is your weapon. They thought they had you figured out. Another easy target. Someone they could manipulate, break, and discard when they were done. They assumed you were like everyone else, predictable, fragile, someone who would crumble under pressure. But their first and biggest mistake? They judged you by what they could see, never realizing the depth beneath the surface. And that's exactly why they are about to lose. They miscalculated, badly. They saw your calm nature and mistook it for weakness. They saw your silence and assumed it meant fear. But silence is only dangerous when it belongs to someone who knows their own power. And you? You never needed to prove yourself to anyone. You didn't need to fight for attention or beg for validation. That alone set you apart. People like them survive by feeding off reactions. They thrive on drama, on manipulation, on pulling the strings of those too blind to see the game. It's a strategy they've used before. Whisper a few lies, plant seeds of doubt, push just enough buttons to get a reaction, then sit back and watch as their target self-destructs. But what happens when their usual tricks don't work? When the person they targeted doesn't react, doesn't break, doesn't even acknowledge their pathetic attempts to shake them? That's when panic sets in. They don't know about the nights you spent rebuilding yourself from nothing. They don't know how many times life tried to count you out, and yet, every time, you came back stronger. They don't understand that resilience isn't something you perform, it's something you become. While they were busy trying to find your breaking point, they were only exposing their own. They didn't realize that every challenge, every betrayal, every storm you've weathered has only made you sharper, stronger, more untouchable. And now they're scrambling, confused, frustrated, watching their own plans fall apart piece by piece. They can't understand why their tactics aren't working, why the same old tricks that used to break others are bouncing right off you. But here's the truth they never considered. You've been through worse than them. You've walked through fire they wouldn't last 5 minutes in. They aren't the first to underestimate you, and they won't be the last. This was never about them just being wrong. This was about them realizing, far too late, that they went after the one person who was never going to fold. They could have picked anyone else, but instead they chose someone who has already been sharpened by life itself. And now, the only thing left for them to do? Stand there and watch as every single move they made against you backfires in ways they never saw coming. They miscalculated your strength. Now they're the ones left scrambling. And you just keep rising. Number 2. Stop making yourself small. Your presence exposes their insecurities. You didn't start this war. They did. And the funniest part? You never even lifted a finger against them. All you did was exist, walking into a room, speaking your truth, standing tall without seeking approval. That alone was enough to send them into a spiral. But let's be clear, the problem was never you. The real battle was always between them and the reflection they've been running from their entire lives. People like them build fragile worlds made of illusions, false confidence, empty validation, and fake alliances that prop up their shaky egos. They avoid self-reflection like a disease, surrounding themselves with enablers who never challenge them. But then you came along, unshaken, unapologetic, undeniable, and shattered the false reality they had built for themselves. You were never a threat to them physically. You were a threat to their delusion. That's why they couldn't ignore you. That's why they turned their jealousy into an obsession. They don't actually hate you. They hate the fact that you force them to see what they lack. Your confidence highlights their doubt. Your success reminds them of their failures. Your authenticity makes their fakeness unbearable, even to themselves. Instead of using that discomfort as fuel to grow, they lash out. They'd rather tear you down than confront their own weaknesses. So they watch you, obsessively, studying your moves, dissecting your words, twisting your intentions to fit the narrative they need to believe. They whisper, mock, and spread rumors, hoping that if they make enough noise, they can drown out the voice in their own head telling them the truth. But here's where they always fail, because their insecurity was never about you. It was always about them. They convince themselves that if they can just see you stumble, if they can just make others doubt you, it will make them feel whole. But insecurity is a battle they can't win because they're fighting the wrong enemy. You keep moving forward, untouched, while they waste their energy trying to break someone who was never built to fall. And that's why they'll always lose. Because while they battle shadows, you're out there becoming unstoppable. Number 3. Understand this. Their hate is just jealousy in disguise. They say they despise you. They roll their eyes when your name is mentioned. They scoff at your success. But here's the catch. They can't stop watching you. They bring you up in conversations that have nothing to do with you. They lurk in the shadows, dissecting your every move, desperate to find something, anything they can use against you. And yet, no matter how much they claim to hate you, they just can't look away. This isn't hatred. This is obsession. A twisted form of worship they would never dare to admit. Real indifference is silent, but their voices are loud. Too loud. Because deep down, they know the truth. If they truly didn't care, they wouldn't be watching so closely. They wouldn't measure themselves against you. They wouldn't stalk your progress, waiting for the moment you stumble. But they do, because what they really fear isn't your failure, it's your continued rise. Look at them, studying you, copying you, trying to be you while pretending they want to destroy you. They mimic your words, steal your ideas, attempt to one-up you in ways so desperate, it's embarrassing. It's like they're trapped in a paradox, torn between envy and admiration, hatred and longing. They don't understand that the very act of fixating on you is giving you power. While they sit bitterly plotting, you're out there winning. While they focus on tearing you down, you're focused on leveling up. And that's where it all backfires. Their obsession fuels your elevation. The energy they waste on trying to sabotage you only pushes you further ahead. The more they talk, the more your name spreads. The more they watch, the more they witness your success. They thought they were working against you, but in reality, they've been your biggest promoters all along. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them waste their time circling around you like moths to a flame, blinded by the very light they wanted to extinguish. Because at the end of the day, they were never above you. They were just lost in your shadow. Number 4. Don't fear their numbers. True power stands alone. They think numbers make them powerful, that just because they gather in packs, whispering, plotting, feeding off each other's insecurities, they hold some kind of strength. But a crowd of weak people is still just that. Weak. Alone. They are nothing. Timid shadows who wouldn't dare speak your name without backup. Together, they convince themselves they matter. But their unity, it's not built on strength. It's built on fear. A desperate attempt to create the illusion of power. Power doesn't come from numbers. It comes from presence, from influence, from an undeniable force that doesn't need to beg for attention or gather an audience to be felt. And that's exactly what you have. They move in groups because they are hollow on their own. They don't have real confidence, real purpose, or real identity. So they cling to each other, justifying their bitterness, echoing the same tired lies, hoping that if enough of them believe it, maybe it will become true. But truth doesn't need a crowd, and neither do you. You stand alone, yet your presence outweighs all of them combined. While they rely on each other to feel relevant, you don't need an army to validate your existence. You are a force. Your strength is not in numbers, but in the weight of your presence, in the certainty of your actions, in the way your energy commands a space without effort. That's why they fear you. Because even with all their schemes, all their alliances, all their empty words, they still can't match what you bring. And when the dust settles, they'll realize the truth. Numbers never guaranteed victory. Numbers never built real power. It was always in the hands of the one who never needed the crowd to begin with. That's why they will lose. And that's why you'll keep rising. Alone, yet unstoppable. Number 5. Prove them wrong by doing nothing. Their own attacks will destroy them. They thought you were just another name on their list, an easy target, someone who would crumble the moment they turned their jealousy into action. They assumed you would do what so many before you had done: fold, retreat, stay quiet. Let their petty attacks shake your confidence. But what they never considered was that you were not like the others. The moment they chose you, they made the biggest mistake of their lives. They thought they controlled the game, but in reality, they walked straight into their own downfall. Every lie they spread, every rumor they whispered, every scheme they plotted, it didn't weaken you, it exposed them. They thought they were writing the script, but instead they ended up revealing their own insecurities, their own desperation, their own weakness. They wanted to see you shattered, defeated, begging for approval. But you did the one thing they couldn't handle. You stood your ground. You didn't lash out. You didn't engage in their petty little war. You didn't waste your energy trying to prove yourself to people who were never worthy of your presence. And that was the moment they lost. Because they don't know what to do with someone who refuses to be controlled by fear. People like them feed off reactions. They need chaos. They need validation. They need to see their targets flinch to feel powerful. But you didn't flinch, you didn't break, you didn't even slow down. And now, they are the ones scrambling. Their usual tricks have failed, their influence is fading, their credibility is crumbling. They built their entire strategy on the belief that you would cave under the pressure. But instead of watching you fall, they're watching their own carefully crafted illusions come crashing down around them. They picked the wrong person. They thought they were dealing with someone fragile, someone easily manipulated, but they never realized they had stepped into the path of someone unshakable, someone forged in fire, someone who had already survived worse than they could ever imagine. And now they have to face a brutal truth. When you target someone who cannot be broken, the only thing that ends up breaking is you. Number 6. Let them dig their own grave. Their darkness always comes to light. Every time they move against you, they think they're in control. They whisper, they manipulate, they spread lies, believing they're shaping how others see you. But what they fail to understand is this: every attack they launch, every rumor they spread, every desperate scheme they orchestrate isn't exposing you, it's exposing them. People like them always believe they're untouchable, that if they spin the story well enough, they can turn others against you. They convince themselves that if they repeat the same lies over and over, they will somehow become true. But reality doesn't work like that. The more they try to break you, the more obvious it becomes that they are the ones drowning in insecurity. The world isn't as blind as they think. People notice. They start asking questions. Why are they so obsessed? Why do they always talk about you? If you're really the problem, why do they need to work so hard to prove it? And that's when the illusion crumbles. They thought their attacks would define you, that their words would tarnish your reputation and turn others against you. But instead, they've only made themselves look weaker. Because here's the truth. People who are secure in themselves don't spend their time obsessing over someone else. Those who are truly powerful don't waste their energy on petty games. But weak people, cowards, they attack what they fear. And what they fear is you. They didn't expect this. They thought you would crumble under the weight of their deception, that you would fight back, lash out, give them the reaction they crave. But you did something far worse to them. You ignored them. You kept moving forward, growing, thriving while they exhausted themselves in a battle they were never built to win. And that's what eats them alive. Their lies. They backfired. Their schemes. They collapsed. Their obsession. It only made people see the truth, that you were never the problem. They were. At the end of the day, those who move with honesty, strength, and integrity don't have to fight for their reputation. Their actions speak for them. But those who operate in shadows, they always end up standing alone in their own darkness. Number 7. They can steal your style, but never your essence. That's why they hate you. They can't stand you, but not for the reasons they claim. It's not your success that bothers them. It's not your confidence, your presence, or the way people naturally gravitate toward you. It's the fact that no matter what they do, no matter how desperately they try, they can never replace you. And that eats them alive. If given the chance, they'd trade places with you in an instant. They watch you, study you, mimic you, trying to decode what makes you different. They copy your style, steal your words, even imitate your energy. But something is always missing. Because authenticity, it can't be faked. No matter how hard they try, they will never carry the same weight, the same presence, the same undeniable force that you do. And deep down, they know it. That's where the hatred begins. They don't just dislike you, they resent you. Every move you make reminds them of what they lack. They see your confidence and feel their own insecurities rise to the surface. They see how effortlessly you move through life while they struggle just to keep up. You were never trying to compete with them, but in their minds, you've already won a race they weren't even prepared to run. They want what you have, but they don't want to earn it. They crave your influence, your respect, your ability to stand alone without needing validation. But instead of building themselves up, they try to tear you down. That's why they attack. That's why they spread lies, twist stories, and try to undermine everything you do. Not because you wronged them, but because your very existence exposes what they'll never be. But here's the truth. They were never competition. You were never playing their game. While they exhaust themselves trying to outshine you, you keep moving. While they waste time plotting against you, you're already 10 steps ahead, becoming an even greater version of yourself. And that is why they will always lose. Because you don't chase, you don't copy, you don't need to bring anyone down to rise. You were built for this. They thought they could replace you. Now they're forced to watch as you become even more of what they could never be. Number 8. Never apologize for your greatness. You're a walking reminder of their mediocrity. You are the living proof of everything they fear they'll never become. Every time you walk into a room, every time your name is spoken, every time they see you thriving, it stings. Not because you've done anything to them, but because your very existence is a mirror reflecting back what they lack. They can't stand the reminder, the silent yet deafening proof that they chose comfort while you chose greatness. You didn't ask for this. You didn't seek out their resentment. All you did was keep moving forward, pushing past limits, refusing to settle for mediocrity. But that's exactly why they despise you. While they cling to excuses, you create solutions. While they wait for permission, you take action. While they remain frozen in fear, you embrace risk. And that contrast, it eats them alive. They want to believe that success is reserved for the lucky, for the favored, for those who had it easy. But then you show up, proving that persistence, courage, and discipline are what truly separate people. And that realization is too much for them to handle. It would be easier if you failed. It would comfort them if you stumbled. Because then they wouldn't have to face the truth. The only thing standing between them and a better version of themselves is their own fear, their own inaction, their own excuses. So instead of leveling up, they lash out, they criticize, they mock, they wait for you to slip, desperate for proof that you're just like them. Because if they can convince themselves that you're no different, then they won't have to question their own choices. But here's the truth they refuse to accept. You are not like them. You never were. You are a force, a reminder that limits are self-imposed, that fear is a cage only the weak choose to stay inside. And no matter how much they resent you, it won't change the reality staring them in the face. You will keep rising, keep proving them wrong, keep reminding them that the only thing standing in their way is themselves. And that's what truly haunts them. Number 9. Weakness hides behind deception. Real strength moves in silence. Their entire strategy has never been about strength. It has always been about fear. They act like they hold power over you, like they are in control. But real power doesn't hide behind deception. It doesn't need manipulation, gossip, or a pathetic group of followers to survive. The mere fact that they have to scheme, plot, and lie just to bring you down proves the truth they desperately want to keep hidden. They aren't strong. They're terrified. Every move they make against you isn't about confidence. It's about panic, fear that you'll surpass them, fear that people will see through their mask, fear that no matter what they do, no matter how much they try to sabotage you, you'll still rise above them. That's the nightmare that keeps them awake at night. They can't handle the idea that you exist beyond their control, beyond their games. That's why they work so hard to manipulate the narrative, twisting reality, making sure people see you the way they want them to. But if they were truly powerful, none of that would be necessary. Real power stands alone. It doesn't rally up weak minds to fight battles it knows it can win. It doesn't whisper lies in the dark, because the truth is already loud enough. But look at them. Watch how much energy they pour into trying to discredit you. How obsessed they are with making sure people doubt you. If they were truly secure, they wouldn't even care. They'd be focused on their own path. Instead, they can't take their eyes off you because deep down, they know the truth. You are the threat. Not because you've done anything to them, but because your existence alone shatters their illusion of control. Weak people rely on manipulation because they know they can't win fairly. They build alliances, not from loyalty, but from desperation. Because alone, they are nothing. They spread lies, not because they believe them, but because they need others to. But the more they scramble, the clearer it becomes. They were never strong to begin with. So let them plot, let them lie, let them scramble to hold on to a power they never truly had. Because in the end, fear-based power always collapses under its own weight. And when it does, you won't have to lift a single finger. You'll still be standing, unshaken, untouchable, and more powerful than they ever imagined. Number 10. Don't engage in their game. Their lies will collapse without your help. They wanted you to fight back, to step into their chaos, to get your hands dirty in the same petty games they play. They wanted your energy, your focus, your reaction, because without it, they're nothing. But that's where they made their biggest mistake. They assumed you'd be desperate to clear your name, to prove yourself, to chase down every lie they told. But you don't have to do any of that, because the truth is, like gravity, it doesn't need your help to pull things down. Lies are heavy. They require constant maintenance, endless effort, and a web of new deceptions just to keep the first one standing. But here's what they never understood. Every false story they spun about you was another weight tied around their own neck. And sooner or later, the weight always becomes too much. The cracks start to show. The inconsistencies slip through. People start putting the pieces together. And when the illusion finally shatters, it won't be because you fought back. It'll be because they built their entire strategy on a foundation that was always doomed to collapse. Your silence isn't surrender. It's power. The kind of power that haunts them, keeps them up at night, makes them panic when they realize they never had control over you to begin with. While they scream for attention, while they desperately try to hold on to a lie that's slipping through their fingers, you're steady, untouched, winning. And when the dust settles, when their own deception turns against them, you'll still be exactly where you were before, above them, unshaken, untouchable, and the only thing they'll have left, the wreckage of their own making. Number 11. Fake power always expires. Time will expose every fraud. Their time is running out, and they don't even see it. They move like they're untouchable, like their lies, manipulations, and fake personas will protect them forever. But here's the truth, chosen one, nothing built on deception ever lasts. Fakeness has an expiration date, and theirs is fast approaching. They've spent so much time weaving illusions, pretending to be something they're not, convincing others to believe in a version of themselves that never truly existed. But no illusion can hold up forever. Pretense is exhausting. While you move effortlessly through life, being exactly who you are, they are stuck performing. Every lie they tell needs another lie to cover it. Every fake friendship requires constant maintenance. Every illusion they sell demands more effort just to keep the cracks from showing. And slowly, inevitably, it all starts to fall apart. The charm they use to manipulate people, it wears thin. The alliances they built on jealousy and shared hatred, they crumble. Because relationships built on negativity never stand the test of time. And the best part? You don't have to do a thing. Their downfall won't be your doing. It will come from their own inability to sustain the falsehoods. While they were busy plotting against you, you kept moving. You kept growing. And now, the weight of their own deceit is crushing them. They thought they won. They thought their lies would carry them indefinitely. But the clock is ticking, and when the moment comes, when everything they built on deception collapses, you won't even have to lift a finger. You'll just be standing there, untouched, watching them finally face the consequences of the very game they played. They never saw it coming, but you always knew. Number 12. The worst thing you can do to them: succeed. Despite their efforts, their greatest nightmare isn't your failure, it's your success. It's the fact that despite everything they've done, every scheme, every whisper, every roadblock they placed in your way, you are still rising. They wanted to see you break, but instead they have to watch you become unstoppable, and nothing burns them more than that. Understand this. Their end goal was never just to ruin you. They needed you to fail. Your downfall would have been their validation, proof that their efforts weren't wasted. But every time you rise, every time you prove them wrong without even acknowledging their existence, it eats them alive. Because deep down, they always knew the truth. They were never strong enough to stop you. They thought their lies could block your path. They thought their jealousy could weigh you down. But you kept moving, not out of spite, not out of revenge, just because you were never meant to stay in the same place as them. And that's what haunts them the most. They were convinced that if they just plotted hard enough, rallied enough weak minds, and threw enough shade, they could slow you down. But you don't even have to fight back. Your very existence is a slap in their face. You keep evolving, keep winning, keep walking right past them like they never mattered. And that's the real reason they can't stand you. They weren't trying to destroy you. They were trying to convince themselves that someone like you shouldn't exist. But here you are, thriving, rising, proving them wrong with every single step. And while they remain stuck, drowning in their own bitterness, you keep reaching heights they can't even imagine. Number 13. They can't stop watching you. Even their hate is a form of admiration. They don't want to admit it, but you live in their head rent-free. They'll swear up and down that they don't care, that you don't matter, that they don't think about you at all, but their actions tell a different story. They claim to hate you, yet they stalk your every move. They pretend to be indifferent, yet they watch from the shadows, waiting, obsessing, searching for something, anything that proves you're not as untouchable as you seem. The truth? They are addicted to you. You are the first thought in their mind when they wake up and the last before they sleep. They refresh your social media, dissect your words, analyze your success, all while pretending you don't exist. They lurk in the background, listening, observing, whispering your name in rooms you've never even stepped into, but they will never acknowledge it. because to admit their obsession would be to admit your power. And that's something their ego will never allow. What they can't stand is that no matter how much they watch, no matter how closely they study, they will never be you. They can mimic, copy, even try to outdo you, but authenticity isn't something that can be stolen. You were built differently, and that eats them alive. The irony: they set out to destroy you, yet somehow they became enslaved by their own fixation. They didn't want to see you rise, yet they can't look away. They wanted you to break, but instead, they are the ones trapped, watching, obsessing, burning with envy over a life they will never be part of. They don't just hate you, they hate how much they can't ignore you. Number 14. They wanted you to break. Now they have to watch you become unstoppable. They never just wanted to dislike you. That was never enough for them. Their real goal was to see you break, to watch you doubt yourself, to make you question your worth until you faded into nothing. It was never about simple hate. It was about control. They wanted the satisfaction of knowing they were the reason you fell. But now they're forced to sit back and watch the one thing they feared most, you becoming unstoppable. They threw everything at you: lies, sabotage, manipulation, whatever weapons they could find. They wanted you exhausted, isolated, doubting every move you made. But instead of breaking, you adapted. Instead of folding, you rose. And that's what they never saw coming. Every trap they set only made you sharper. Every attack only fueled your rise. Now, they have no choice but to witness their worst nightmare unfold, you thriving in spite of them. Every time you level up, it's a reminder that all their efforts were wasted. Every time you succeed, it proves their entire strategy failed. And here's the part that haunts them most: they can't escape you. No matter how hard they try to ignore it, your presence lingers. Your success is undeniable, and your energy is impossible to silence. They wanted you to disappear, but instead, you became a force too powerful to erase. The ultimate revenge: you never even had to fight them. While they were consumed with tearing you down, you were too busy building something greater. And now, the only thing left for them to do is watch as you become everything they swore you never would. That is a defeat they will never recover from. The greatest victory was never in fighting them. It was in outlasting them. And you did exactly that. You turned their jealousy into fuel, their doubt into motivation, and their bitterness into proof that you were always destined for more. So, let them watch. Let them talk. Let them stew in the truth that while they wasted their time trying to destroy you, you became untouchable. In the end, their downfall was never in your hands. It was written the moment they chose to go against someone built for the storm. They thought they could break you, but all they did was forge something stronger than they could ever comprehend. Now, they have to live with the reality that their greatest enemy was never you. It was their own weakness. Let them watch. Let them regret. And you, keep rising. If this message hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, and share. And if you're ready to step fully into your power, subscribe now. This is just the beginning.